Good evening and thank you for joining us. Carly, it's been a long road for the Bobcats just to get to that second round, and a tough loss last night.
Yeah, it was a tough loss. You know, the team held them literally. It was a 1-1 game. There were 3 minutes left in the final frame when Spruce Grove got the go-ahead goal. So we're expecting a big battle tonight, and as you mentioned in the headline, I did get a chance to talk to the Colonel today, and he fills me in on how the guys are doing out there in Spruce Grove and what they're looking forward to tonight's big game.
Fantastic. And Gerard, what can we expect in the weather picture?
Well, we've had a pretty decent day, with the exception of the wind chill. Later on this evening, it'll be a clear night, so we'll kind of look forward to that. Let's see what it's looking like right about now, because we got a high temperature just at around 2 o'clock of -17. We're still sitting there. The wind chills have been approaching the late 20s for most of the day. Right now, we're at -23, and that wind is just gentle at 9 kilometers an hour out of the south-southwest. What are we looking for later on this evening? It should clear off pretty nicely. A clear night should be on the way. In the Battlefords, they're just getting a light dusting at the moment, but in terms of our full detailed picture, we'll get to that a little later on in the newscast. Meantime, Jacob, back to you.
RCMP from Saskatoon Major Crimes Unit, along with members of the Glassland, Turtleford and North Battleford detachments, are investigating the death of 2 women. Yesterday afternoon, around 3 o'clock, RCMP attended a home in the district of Glassland. A call came in from a man concerned about the welfare of a family member who lived at the residence. When police arrived, they discovered the body of a 51-year-old female outside and the body of a 56-year-old female inside the house. The 2 women were the only occupants of that home. Autopsies are scheduled to sometime in the next few days. Police say foul play by a third party is not suspected. A Maidstone resident has been charged with 4 counts of indecent acts after a 6-month investigation. Mounties say the charges stem from incidents reported last July and September. Lloydminster RCMP have received numerous complaints over the past year from people in the region about a man who was allegedly exposing himself. The 30-year-old man will be in Alberta Provincial Court in Lloydminster tomorrow. For the past few weeks, there have been protests and unrest throughout the country of Libya. Violent rebellions are taking place after years of authoritarian rule under Muammar Gaddafi. Jenna Bridges brings us the story of one Lloydminster man who's been working in the country for 30 years, but right now is just happy to be home.
The trip was long and tiring, but Wayne Sim returned to Lloydminster last Tuesday.
It's great to be home. Great to be back in Canada.
Sim has been working with National Drilling and Workover in Libya for the last 3 decades. His site is located 800 kilometers from Tripoli. Throughout the ordeal, Sim was lucky enough to remain in contact with his wife through emails and Skype.
He said everything was fine over there, not to worry. He didn't seem concerned. And so basically until Saturday, Sunday of last weekend, that's when it kind of hit me, especially when I didn't hear from him.
That's because Sim's original flight out of Libya wasn't going to be possible due to the chaos in the Tripoli airport. Thankfully, the British Air Force supplied a Hercules that literally plucked Sim and his 5 co-workers from the desert.
One of our drivers come running up to me and said, Mr. Wayne, there's a plane at the airport right now that'll take you to Malta.
From Malta, the workers flew to London, where they spent the night and then began their journey back to Canada.
Oh, it was a very happy moment when I got off that plane in Edmonton and walked out and seen her standing there, and I gave her a big kiss and big hug, and very, very happy.
It's been tremendous. Everybody's called and checked on how he's doing or where he was or if he's safe.
Sim is still in contact with many of his Libyan friends who are fearful but also have hope for a changed future in the country. As for his future working in Libya, it's still unclear.
It's just a waiting game now to see whether I go back to Libya. Like I was saying, I have a return ticket, and it'll just depend on the circumstances.
For now, he's focused on spending time with loved ones and his wife.
Just glad to have him home, and everything is safe and sound, and now we're going to go on a holiday.
Jenna Bridges, Newcap News.
Well, throughout the years, the funds raised by Telemiracle have changed the lives of people across the province of Saskatchewan. Decades ago, the television event was created with the goal to raise funds for residents with special health care needs. The 35th installment just wrapped up this past weekend, and as Jack Haskins explains, Telemiracle continues to grow even stronger.
Those phones were absolutely hot. There was 95 phones in the building, and you could not set it down without the light going back on that it was ringing again.
Prior to the event, the Lloydminster Kinsman Cadets raised over $31,000 towards Telemiracle, but they were just one of several communities that contributed to the cause.
The generosity of Saskatchewan is absolutely phenomenal. The grand total for Telemiracle 35 was $4.6 million, And to see that number go up, and we had totals about every 3 minutes coming up onto the stage, and that number just got bigger and bigger and bigger.
The $4.6 million Telemiracle collected this year is the second highest total in the event's history. Wildeman says knowing that the funds are going into the right hands is the most rewarding part of the experience.
This morning, I got to phone 3 of my recipients and tell them that they're receiving money from Telemiracle. And every time that I get to make those phone calls, it's always special.
Leanne has now participated in several Telemiracle events, even though it's a grueling 2-day process where sleep is virtually not an option. In her eyes, it's well worth it in the end.
We're exhilarated, we are exhausted in a sense, but it's going to take me a long time to wipe this smile off my face.
Jack Haskins, Newcap News.
Accidents can occur in a public place where you could wind up unconscious and unable to communicate. Emergency response personnel will immediately treat the symptoms, and police, fire, and hospital workers will need to obtain medical history or contact your next of kin. ICE may save your life. Shauna Roshik explains how these 3 letters could help you and your loved ones.
ICE, which stands for In Case of Emergency, was launched in the United Kingdom in 2005, gaining worldwide momentum after the July terrorist bombings in London. Since May 2010, local EMT personnel are taking the ICE program into border city classrooms.
We've been talking to grade 9 students in the schools directly into their classes and explaining what the sheet is and getting them to take it home and discuss it with their parents to see if they would like to participate in the program.
A program that is simple in its concept and execution. All that is required to assist emergency services are a reliable contact, a wallet, and/or cell phone.
Really cuts down the time for the care to get to you. If we have to sit there and do a bunch of tests to find out what is exactly wrong, whereas if we have a medical history, we can kind of narrow our focus and rule out those things first.
Andrew says having contact information so easily accessible may be a concern for some people, but will benefit someone in a critical situation.
Without a sticker on your cell phone, emergency medical crews such as EMTs are not allowed to go into cell phones with the new privacy laws, but with the ICE sticker it's a consent that you can go into it. Otherwise we have to give the phone over to the RCMP and they have to look.
Currently, Lloydinster Fire and Rescue are aware of the program. Andrew hopes to have all associated with emergency response part of ICE in the future.
We're still in our infancy of trying to get the program out there, and as we gain more popularity, it'll come more and more on board with those other agencies.
One local business is supporting the program, and as ICE gains more awareness, Andrew's goal is to get more businesses involved.
Currently Midwest Communications, who is handing out the sheets and the stickers for general public, and we're hoping to get a few more people on board with that.
Andrew says to properly implement the program, it will take money and manpower, something he hopes the entire community will support. Shauna Roshik, Newcap News.
Having the opportunity to be in a Hollywood movie is something most people can only dream about, but for residents of Provost, that opportunity has come to them. We'll have that story and more coming up after the break.